Okay, there we are. All right, Facebook family. This has been a challenge this evening, but it's all good because that's what we do. We try to make sure that we stay in an alignment to what our ancestors has called for us to do. We want to thank you for tapping into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station, amongst others. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul with your Sister B. Mellow, and my co-host, Mr. Rosenity, brings to you the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, which happens every first Saturday of the month. This is pre-recorded for tomorrow. We won't be in the studio because we have some other engagements that we are obligated to go to. So we have this opportunity to do this tonight. The Cafe Le Bleu Lounge is where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called the Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own. So we always ask you to vibe out to fireside chats and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages on the corner. The first part of the corner, you could find the artist talk. We showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They share their creative process and their lived experience. The other part of the corner could be Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of the brilliant minds along with geniuses from our past. We are preserving our African American history and culture and our fellow brothers and sisters and their cultures. We always like to keep a legacy alive. The other part of the corner could be She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where you will hear from individuals sharing their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done and is doing in their lives, which are inspirational messages. Also, we are highlighting golden lights affirmations to impart healing medicine in the soil of the brilliant minds of today. Every second Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have the Medicine Hour with Mr. George Pearson, founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine. This is where we believe little and better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, health eating habits, education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness, healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month is Education is the Best Medicine, which is the founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization which is community-based, health educational, advocacy-based, and a resource-based organization that uses public media, resources, radio, newspapers, and church-based community health fairs to provide information and education. We believe vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and bringing light to a very dark world. Every fourth Saturday of the month is the Lights Out, Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show, hosted by myself and co-hosted by the Doc and the Voice and the Prince of Hearts. Every fifth Saturday of the month is called Voices That Care. And this is where we bring reentry in and talk about mental wellness. As of today, we are here on Town Business, and this is the Cafe the Blue Lounge artist talk. So with my co-host, Mr.
Rosenity.
Hey. And then we have our special guest in here tonight with us.
Hello, Santiago.
All right, Santiago Cruz. So tonight, theme is being a boss in your own right. And I am honored to have these young men in the studio with me on this evening. As we said, we have some business to take care of tomorrow. However, we are in the studios this evening. So I want to thank you again for coming in. We want to thank the Dream Arts.
Dreams Arts and Activism
Hey,
youth
hey.
program.
Yes, yes, yes. And where are we located?
9601 MacArthur Boulevard, DB Stoke one.
Deep East Oakland, doing town business.
Yeah.
So we have one of your.
This is one of our young people, young person that's in the program. I've had the honor and privilege of being around him in community,
Yes.
and then to have him a finally part of my program,
Yeah.
and doing such good work and being here on this platform to share his wisdom. I'm super blessed and grateful.
Yes. Well, first we want, before we start anything, we always have our guests to say kudos out to the fam and to whomever you want to give, kudos to, but definitely make sure you touch base on the fam so you can share whoever you like.
Yeah, just thank you to everyone here, Rose, for inviting me and just for having this space for both for the community and just
Yeah.
for people to be able to listen to these kinds of stories. And of course, the family, hopefully listen back.
Yes, and who are the family? You got to say that.
Yeah. My dad is Cesar Cruz.
Yes.
He's part of the organization Homies Empowerment. My mom also part of the leadership team there. Mi especial, my siblings. Yeah. Amaro and Kasami.
Yes, well, I know they're proud of their big brother. So before we get started, I have some questions. I know Brother Rose has some questions for you too. So I'm just gonna let y'all vibe out, and I'm gonna slide in when I need to, and definitely, we'll give our updates and got to pay the bills by sharing what we do. But when you were a child, what was how did you what was your dreams, and were you able to even though you were growing up as a young man, the difficult challenges that you may have experienced, how were you able to stay focused? What did you have to do, and what was your dream?
Yeah, well, I like to think that I'm still a child.
Yeah, we all a child.
Yeah.
I'm 60 years old. I'm a child.
We're a child of coming.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
I think when I was younger, I moved a lot. I was born in Berkeley because insurance that my parents had, but I grew up in Oakland. Then we moved to the East Coast. Then we moved to South Cali, out in LA, and then we came back up here, and I've been up here since. But
Okay.
I think that sort of culture of adapting is something that has kind of affected the entirety of how I live and how I operate. And I think that's sort of enabled me to be able to fuse in these different spaces. So I think one of the things we talk a lot about at Dreams Arts is this concept of ethnic bridging, of connecting different communities that aren't always connected as they should be, and bringing our people together. And so I think that's really influenced me with that. And I think while I may not have been as cognizant of that, like when I was little, just, I had, when I was 7, I learned an entirely new language of Portuguese.
Wow.
Had best friends who were Brazilian,
Yeah.
and I didn't know them, but I was making a international connection. I think that's sort of these kind of lessons that are important to bring here, to bring across different communities that may already be doing that without knowing. So I might be able to, I talk a certain way with my friends and then with my teachers and with my parents.
Code switch.
Yeah. And we
Got to
don't.
learn it.
Yeah, and we may not know those terms, but
That's
we're
right.
doing it. And those are the kinds of skills that are sort of really important. So.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I think one thing he did forget to mention is that he come from an ancestral lineage of warriors as well.
Yes.
And then his parents reflected that work.
Yes.
And then he's finding his own identity, but he's also tapping into that ancestral power as well. And for him to be a young person doing this work, it's such a blessing to have in the community. And then for me, I think it's always been this this discovery process of like finding my roots, reclaiming my roots,
Right.
and not letting the trauma define my identity. I was so tired of waking up and seeing on the news the depictions that they made of our communities, the negative stereotype that they produced. Mainstream media continuing to push these narratives of our community and not really showcasing or highlighting any of the positive stuff, right? So as a young person, when I was going through that discovery process, once I started finding out who I was and where my people came from and the backgrounds that they embodied, the work that they put in, that revolutionary love that they embodied, it became easier to see in the city of Oakland and community, right? The conditions of our environment no longer really controlled who I was. It became about me changing the conditions of the environment instead. So that's why I
Wow.
was
Jesus. You know, again, I am honored, and I know what school are you going to now, and you getting ready to transition to college.
Yeah. So I'm 17. I'm a senior at Life Academy, which is a school in the Fruitvale district. I've just finished all the college applications.
All right.
Congratulations.
Doing
Yes.
finishing up financial aid and those kinds of things right now. You know,
Mhm.
things are tumultuous, but we'll get through it. And so yeah, planning on. I've applied to a lot of different colleges. Most of them here in Cali, but some.
Right. So, what are you going to be studying?
So I'm trying to find a connection between astrophysics,
Ooh.
anthropology,
Oh, what not?
and ethnic studies.
Okay.
And so I think I've had the blessing of being able to learn about where I come from. When a lot of folks may not, you know, have that background as a young person.
Right.
And so I know that I come from people who built pyramids. And
Come
people
on
who
now.
are astronomers and architects. And so I think I've seen that connection when it comes to like, well, actually, the Aztecs really did know their astronomy and they coordinated their things about that.
Right.
And so I think I've always been interested in the universe because there's so much to explore. And then just connecting that back to me and learning about my people, I want to find that connection in college and beyond.
Yes. Now, Rose, you're in school also, and you're going for your
my master's and doctorates.
yes.
Going to UC Berkeley. And just to build off of what
Yes.
Santiago mentioned, you know, I really want to emphasize just intersectionality, right? Like we live in a society where we're told we can only be one thing, right? But our ancestors, like Oline mentioned, is that we're creators, we're designers, we're inventors of all these different types of things on Earth. And I really think that holding multiple identities in a good and healthy way allows us to tap into the true power of like who we are as individuals, but also like as a collective community, right? So we're many things.
Yeah. You know, I'm grateful that you guys just said that about being many things, because that's one of our foundations of the school, of the Homies Empowerment Freedom School, is that you're a warrior, you're a healer, you're a caretaker, you're a hustler. You know, we have, did I say them all? I want to make sure I got them right. Yep, I say a warrior, scholar, and a scholar.
Yeah.
So knowing that we embody all of those things and it's just not one area, that's a beautiful thing for our kids to be, with, you know, I'm gonna call y'all kids, but our future young adults. But it is important for them to be able to know who they are. And I tell them all the time, never, ever have people discredit you knowing your language, because everybody don't have a language that they can call their own. You know, it's been stripped and taken away. So being able to speak in your own language, and it's so beautiful to me. When I hear anybody speak in their native tongue, I'm just like, oh my God. I don't understand, but it's beautiful to my ears. And I was thinking, I was like, wow. I think I have made mention before. I'm like, I wish I could know, you know, and that's why I'm trying to do research on my tribe and learning, even though I may not be able to speak the language, at least I know what type of language they spoke. But it's a beautiful thing for me to hear different languages. It's so beautiful. And I was also sharing with the students is that you then have a head of folks, because you speak multiple languages, you know, and you can be an interpreter. There's many multiple things that you can do.
Yeah.
You know, you want to tap into any of that or say?
Yeah, I can say a little bit about that. I think it's kind of crazy to think about that you don't know your history. You know, you're a tree without roots, and I think it's difficult because the fact that it's revolutionary to learn where you come from.
Come on.
It's it's something we have to grapple with every day.
Yes.
But I think I'm very, very grateful that I'm in spaces like Dreams Arts where we learn those and then we express them. And then just being able to hopefully help someone out who may not have those spaces. So like just talking to friends at school or talking to people on my block or my community, those kinds of things. Because I think when everyone has access to these kinds of things,
that's the key.
To these radios, to these programs, those kinds of stuff, that's when we're united, when we're at our strongest.
That's right. So how did you start Dreams Arts? What was the vision, or how did it get started? Because I don't think no one on this show had gotten the opportunity to hear how it got started.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from just my experience in Oakland, seeing a lot of groups or programs or organizations operate in silos, right? And I'm noticing that it became about competing, right?
Oh my God,
and two things that I just went over with the youth last week is what we call the Oppression Olympics and the Woke Olympics.
Say that again.
The Oppression Olympics and the Woke Olympics, right? The first one, and you want to touch on Trauma Olympics? Yeah, so the first one, Woke Olympics, you touch on it. I'll touch on it. Yeah. So the Oppression Olympics is where everyone feel like their community is more deserving than another community because of what they went through. So you start comparing levels of trauma, right? When in reality, we shouldn't be comparing, right? Like the people who are holding us hostage are the people with all of the resources. And they want us to believe that there's not enough resources for all of us.
That's
right. And but the reality is that there is. Right. And when I thought of Dreams Arts, it was really just creating a place where everyone can coexist with each other and not measure pain and feel like one community is more deserving than the other. So when we talk about ethnic bridging, it's really just bridging all of these identities because we live in the same city, right? So in Dreams Arts, we learn about the historical context of everyone's migration stories, right, that exist within the Oakland community. Because if we understand their history, we understand how to communicate with them, how to be mindful about how we show up with them, how to build solidarity so that we don't repeat the same trauma that they went through here, right? And now we'll be able to humanize and be more compassionate with each other, right? And then you could talk about the Woke Olympics.
Yeah, I think one of the key points that I think Rose mentioned that I just want to really add to is the importance of solidarity. I think we live in a unique time where we can reach anybody through a radio, through a Zoom, through a call, through online in any kind of way. And we could use that for competition. We could use that for evil. We could use it for all kinds of things. But a lot of the work that is being done is actually really, really good. It's for the community. It's for the people, and that's what we focus on. That's why we're not about tearing other people down. We're not about attacking our own people.
That's right.
It's about building these connections, and it's not a competition because they say that the comparison is a thief of joy, but it's also a thief of resources.
That's right.
When we think we got to fight with somebody else to get to that same breadcrumb, no one's looking at the piece of bread. And so I think we at Dreams Arts, at Homies, we work on building that connection so that we can share anything we got. I think Dreams Arts was founded out of sharing, Homies, all these kinds of things. When we're stronger, we're stronger when we're together. That's what I meant. That's
right. That is absolutely amazing because I always tell people that it's no competition, it's collaboration. To me, collaboration is the key. And that's what society, they don't want us to do, is collaborate. And like you said, there's so many resources out there. See, not everybody, but they want us to focus on the pain and not celebrate and just fight over the crumbs. And it's like, no, how do we come together, bridge those? Like-mindedness, we got more in common than we don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to build off of what you mentioned earlier in terms of like the power.
It's your show. You the co-host. You the co-host. This is your.
earlier you mentioned how like it's so beautiful when you see others speak their language, right? And it made me think about just the power of our tongue, right? And the healing natural element that comes with being able to speak our native tongue, right? And how important that is for our identity, but also social connection with our roots. Right. Living in this community where it's very resource deprived, right? And it doesn't happen on accident. Like, let's be clear about that.
Please say that again.
Our community facing resource apartheid, right? Like it doesn't happen on accident. It's intentional, right? So tapping into those identities, understanding your language, learning your roots, you start to empower yourself and heal your roots so that you're not a victim to this environment that was intentionally designed to be this way.
And I love that you always tell us in the community, let's celebrate. We have to take our time to celebrate. Celebrate brings hope. Celebrates infuses for me. You know, it gives you, it's creative. It allows you to go to a whole nother level when you are able. And then what is it? Endorphins in your brain too. It releases, yes, the endorphins. And so, and they want us to just focus off of that pain and the trauma and the hurtful things. And it's like, no, healing starts with celebrating and being honest with yourself and being truthful with yourself. So I am, again, thankful for this opportunity to come before Brilliant Minds. And that's my organization, you know, our organization, BH Brilliant Minds. And it means begin healing brilliant minds. People think it's my initials, but it's not. It means begin healing brilliant minds. And that's all we're trying to do in our community, is to inspire, is to uplift and give people what they need, but they can walk in their purpose, for they can see hope, for they can celebrate life, for they can make changes in the world. We owe it to each other. If they're not going to give it to us, it's our responsibility. And I know it's my responsibility to, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, is to whatever platform I have. That's why I think of the events to do. I think of I don't think of the ancestors the Lord given to me to think of, and I'm just a steward in the, you know, and I be obedient to the call. That's all I am. But I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do that. And you know, Samantha shared with me, and she said, Miss B, because it's hard for me to talk about myself. It's hard for me to talk about the things that I do. And yesterday I just did an interview, and they interviewed me, and it was hard for me to do it. But it was, God said, go back. And it gave me the opportunity to go back and look at the things that I've done. And I am like, whoa. But it's that it wasn't, I just do it. I don't think about it. I just do it. So to be able to go back and go like, whoa, you did all of these different things. And I was just celebrating myself. I stood and I was like, you know, God said, celebrate yourself. You know, it's like, and I was like, what are you doing the darn, you know, what other word I want to say. But we doing it not like, we've been out here grinding, being a warrior, being a soldier, being a healer, being a hustler, doing all of these things. We've been doing that. We've been embodying that. And I'm like, I'm 60, so it's over 35 plus years that I've been doing this work. So I'm like, whoa. And God said, what you do, you go back, I'm gonna lay it on my floor and look at everything that I have done. And I'm gonna record it. He said, record it. Just look at it. Just show. And because people think that it just got started. No, this started when I was a kid in the bakery with my parents. It was the foundation, like with your parents, you know, and with your parents and with grandma and the whole community and all of that. We didn't just get to where we are. It was just them pushing us along, making us, giving us the inspiration to believe. You know, anything y'all want to say? This show. Hey, man.
That's so true, and I think when we think that it just started, then it's hard to start the next one because we don't know where it started. We don't know the pathway. We don't know those kinds of things. And I think with your point about celebration, I think that's the reason it's arts and activism because this this world can be cruel and it can be daunting and those kinds of things. And so we can get caught up in the negatives, but we also gotta celebrate, you know? Oakland is a beautiful place. Like, we got beautiful people and a lot of beautiful culture. And I think that's why the art part is just as important.
Yes.
We need to express both our emotions and honor the beauty and honor the important parts. And I think those connections that we're building are important now, and they're going to be important forever, because as you mentioned in celebrating yourself, if you celebrated yourself and Rose celebrated himself and every one of our leaders from our community, imagine how much celebration we could do. We could do a bunch. And I think there's a lot to honor, a lot to love, and that's something we don't do enough.
Yeah, I really resonated with what both of y'all mentioned in terms of like just being able to record or really lay out the legacy that you built, like not just for yourself, but like for the people that's coming up under you as well. And that's something we forget about, is that every step we take, like it's folks behind it, like beside us, behind us, like looking at us as we take these steps. So, and we come from backgrounds where they try to erase our history, right? Erase the work that our ancestors did.
And they trying to erase it now.
Yeah, and they
The
still trying to
leadership is trying to erase it now.
Yep, and let's reclaim that. Let's start celebrating so that our future generations understand that it's okay to celebrate. Right?
Yes.
We need to collectively celebrate, because your win is also my win. Right?
Exactly.
And that just means that we're collectively doing this together, right? And I want to celebrate for you, with you as well.
Yes. And it is hard for a lot of people to celebrate. You know, it's crazy, but I come from my dad and my mom. They party, good time. You know, they worked, and then on the weekend it was a fish fry Friday. You know, and then of course the adults in there doing adult things, and then they'll tell the kids, "Come on out here and perform or do whatever." But it was a part of a celebration, and they brought all their friends. You know, and it was at each person's house. It was a different person's house each week. But they at the end was able to celebrate. And that's why I love when I'm doing the events, it's a part of celebrating. And Juneteenth, you know, it's a part of gathering everybody together. Food, dance, music, and let's have a good time. Even though we're learning about and we're educating ourselves, but we're still celebrating and we're still having a good time. And then like I always share with you guys, is that what I've done, I'm not gonna be, Lord knows, I want to be around for a little bit more longer, but you know, but to pass this legacy, I already know what time of day what I gotta do, and I tell Rose and them all the time, hey, this stuff that I'm doing, y'all add to what y'all doing. It's y'all stuff. It ain't mine. It's for the next generation, and you guys are that. I live for you. I work for you, and I know, and I'm all right with that. A lot of people, you know, they not cool with that, but hey, folks that know me, they know the youth and young adults. Oh, y'all, that's what I live for. You guys, I live for y'all. I do not live for. I have a purpose and a goal, and I'm intentional. I try to be intentional about what I do and how we move, because that's how my parents and my dad was. He shared with us, and I'm gonna let y'all talk. He made sure, even though we had the family business in the community, but that business there was always a refuge. People can come. It was a space that it can be themselves. They were able to share with my parents. They were able to pray together. They were able to discuss. They were able to, whatever trials and things that they may have been going through, they were able to do this all together. And someone shared with us at one point, they said to my parents, this is a Phillips station that our business was. And because my dad, and I'll say it again till I'm blue in the face, he always told us inside of the bakery, he said, I don't care if anybody walk in here to have no money, to pennies, to billions of dollars, you better treat them all the same. No one is bigger than or greater than the other. And that's how I work in community.
Ooh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because in our program, we always say that there is no shining star, right?
No.
Everyone's a shining star. Actually,
Everyone.
everyone is,
Yes.
and no one is outshining each other, right?
No.
It don't matter how long you've been in the program
That's right.
or how much work you put in.
That's
Everyone is going to get their turn. So when we're going to conferences, when we're flying
Come
out
on.
to do public speaking,
Yes.
I make sure to remind everyone, your turn is going to come. Don't worry.
That's
Right.
right.
When we go out there, we collectively represent each other,
Mm.
right? And I think that once we start embodying that together, the
Mhm.
more we're able to push this work forward. in a good way.
Now, you guys, we just came back from Hawaii, and then there was some other things that we got the opportunity to do. Can you share a little bit what it was about, and how did we get here? And share all. We celebrating. I want to celebrate all
Yeah.
the beautiful things
Yeah.
that Dream Arts Activism is doing.
Yeah.
Homies environment. So we doing the darn thing. We need to celebrate. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, well, first, I wanted to add a little background.
Yeah,
I think-
child, look, it's your show. It's your show. This ain't my show.
I think one of the things my parents always told me is that you have to be your ancestors' wildest dreams.
Come on
And-
now.
and to be your ancestors' wildest dreams, you also gotta think 7 generations into the future, because you are gonna be those ancestors at some point.
That's
So
right.
you have to work for your descendants. You have to work with those people in mind, and in doing so, these programs are important because although they affected today, they also affect the history of Oakland. They affect the
Come
history
on.
of this community. They affect the history of our people. And so I think conferences like the one we just went to
Yeah.
are important because they leave physical legacies. And I think
Those
are-
say that again. Physical legacy.
they leave
Yeah,
physical legacies.
about to be you. Look, we bosses in our own right.
Bosses
This
in our
town
right.
business, I'm in her town business. Look, I forgot. Oh my God. You go ahead, and then I'm gonna say what we to share. But that's how we do. Go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's important to be able to have those, to make those connections, because so we just got to go to Hawaii, and we got to present at a conference, but we also were with the community out there. We got to learn about the island, learn about that history, and so we built some connections that I don't know when they'll come in handy, but
That's
but
right.
having those there and being able to build both those connections and the memories
Yes.
are so important, because I think when as beautiful as Oakland is, we don't want to be in just one place. We want to bring the wisdom from everywhere
Come
to here.
on.
And so I think being able to go out there, being able to have those experiences. By the way, we were the only youth there.
We were the only youth.
Just the only youth. who
Okay,
presented.
y'all gonna tell us
Only
about
youth
what's the
there.
name of the conference and where was it at?
Education conference in Hawaii.
Okay,
Yeah.
The University.
the
of
only you
Monroe.
there.
University.
That's an honor.
Yeah.
They were presenting in front of doctorates, career professionals, and like different backgrounds. They were the only youth there.
Professors, and it was both, scary, but it was also beautiful, because
Mhm.
I think one of my favorite memories is that we went to an ABC store. We picked up some chocolates, and me and Rose were there. We were just messing around. So we were on the back of them. They got little histories. They got little
Yeah.
backgrounds, and so we would say them like poetically, like we
Yes.
were performing in front of people. And then we made it a little contest when we got back to where we were staying,
Yeah.
and everybody did it in their most flamboyant,
Mhm.
showing way.
We ain't gonna tell them yet
And
what
it's-
we about what we cooked up.
And it's that kind of like those kind of memories and that practice, because if you've done that with a box of chocolates, what can you do with your story, right? And so we had technical difficulties. We
Right.
had some issues getting there and
Yeah.
these kinds of things, but we had already dealt with so much, and we knew the importance of what we were saying, and so we were ready. And
That's right.
But can I? And,
Oh,
you know,
and you gotta ask me nothing. This y'all show. Straight up.
there were some things that happened that prevented us from fully being able to say what we wanted to present on.
Mhm.
And I think it was more of a blessing, because not all game should be given if the folks who are receiving it aren't ready, right? You don't want to give the game in the wrong hands, because they might use it to do harm or
That's
to cause
right.
damage.
That's
There's people out there that have good information and good knowledge, but they may not always use it for the right reasons.
That's
Right.
so.
So we were also blessed in that kind of way to just be
Yeah.
mindful about, like, okay, maybe that happened because
Yes.
the world wasn't ready yet.
Yes, and I believe, I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason.
yeah,
So, good, bad, ugly, challenging, our story counts and things happen for a reason. We just need to figure out why. And I wanted to tap into what you were saying about connections. I am big on that. My father was big on that. And it's like, I tell everybody that I meet, I was supposed to meet you. Now it's up to us to figure out why. It may be a month, it may be a week, it may be years, it may be whenever, but whatever we were talking about, we were supposed to talk about it at that time. And if it was supposed to go further, God's gonna make sure that we reconnect. And it's a beautiful thing to be, as like you were saying, reclaiming. We are freaking reclaiming. And on that note, let me say, thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational gospel music station, among other things. Every the Eyes of the Conscience Soul brings to you every first Saturday of the month the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, which is the artist talk, our town business. Yes. And then we have in that there's different with 15-minute segments called the artist talk. Why I Dream, She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. Every second Saturday of the month, we have from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. We have the Medicine Hour with Mr. George Pearson. Every third Saturday, we have Education is the Best Medicine with Mr. George Pearson. And every fourth Saturday, we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult radio show with the Doc and the Voice and the Prince of Hearts. And then every fifth Saturday of the month, we have Voices That Care. And that is with Mr. Kells and Rose. You were tapping into that too. But every first Saturday of the month, which will be tomorrow, is Mr. Rose and I radio show. And this is what we call the corner, the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, but it's Town Business. 8. And then this show today is We Are Bosses in Our Own Rights. And go ahead, you share whatever you want to say.
Bosses in our own rights.
Bosses in our own rights.
Yeah, I think, well, we can tap back into what we were talking about. I think,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Boss.
That's a boss.
That's a boss. That's, hey, go ahead.
One of the things about connections is that when we were out there, there was a bunch of connections we didn't know we was going to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were at so we planned to go to the swap meet a couple times.
Right.
Because, that's where the people are. That's where we wanted to find some nice little things out there. And Tracy, one of the leaders at Dreams Arts.
You know we love you.
Yeah.
Shout out Tracy.
Shout out
Yes.
Tracy. Yeah.
Our art teacher at Homies Empowerment Freedom School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she found family out there, and they got to connect for a little bit, and it's those kinds of things that even across the sea,
all that water, plus all that water.
In a completely unplanned time, we were able to meet these connections, and we don't know when they're gonna come out. And so one of the things that has been interesting these last couple of years, especially, so whenever things are kind of needed, whether it's at Homies, whether it's at TFS, you reach out and the community answers. And the community answers in a bunch of different ways, whether it's spark trucks that necessary, whether it's funding, whether it's tables or chairs or people to help out or volunteer, the community helps. And one of the things that my parents and my grandparents would always say is that you got to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Come on.
And so if everybody got 15 cents, we can make $1 together. And
That's right.
And whether it's the 15 cents that we got in Hawaii or in LA or in whatever conference is up next, we're building up these coins, and eventually we'll be able to get our own space. We'll be able to do what we need to do. And
so we talking about
I really appreciate just that framework of like developing social connections, because oftentimes when we think of like bosses, there's always power dynamics, right? But if everyone is the boss of themselves and like they're the boss of their emotions, their intelligence, their identity, and all of that, right? It's easier for you to build those connections with people when they also embody that as well. And then when we think about combining that to serve community together, like it's super powerful to be able to transform community in such a good way and healthy way too.
And that is so good. When I'm an acronym, I love those. When I was thinking, I said bosses, and we came up in my head. I came up with building opportunities, strengthening soldiers everywhere, And then the S, I was trying to think of something for the S. I was like, but you know what? That's what we out here doing.
Yeah.
We out here building up. You know, we trying to build. Not only that, we building up ourselves, we building up our people and making that connections. Because when we, like you said earlier, when you win, I win. Society want to say, oh no, it's all about me.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think about nobody else. It's all about being, to me, selfish.
Yeah.
It's time. It's a time and place for that. You know, but in like relaxing and meditating and all that, that's different.
Yeah.
But as far as trying to put somebody else down to pull yourself up, no, we ain't doing that. And that's what they're trying to make our kids think it's okay to do.
Yeah.
You know, even when we see our unhoused brothers and sisters and or someone with substance use disorder or mental illness, it's that you don't know, first of all, how they got there. So and it's important for everybody to learn their person's story before you start talking about. And that's why I was saying earlier, good, bad, ugly, challenging. Everybody's story counts. I don't care whose it is. It counts. And all you can do is own your story, because when you leave here, you ain't taking nothing else with you but your doggone story and what you have done. You know, so that's why I'm like in this race out here trying to do what I can do for our people, and just trying to make sure it says I owned this and created this over 25 years ago. God gave me the eyes of the conscious soul. We are the eyes of the conscious soul. We're supposed to be looking in the consciousness of other people and lifting, even when their eyes is down, we're supposed to bring them up.
Yeah.
We're supposed to open them. How do you bring opportunity? You bring it through dream arts.
Yeah.
How do we help them with their dreams? We bring you, even whatever you see, whatever you have, whatever dreams you have, whatever pictures, everybody is an artist. You know, you may not like be like me, and I may not be like you, but it's okay. I have my lane, you have your lane. You were chosen to do whatever God, the ancestors chose you to do, you know, and be all right with that. No competition. Go ahead if you want to share.
Yeah. And to add on to that, like having humility, right?
Yeah.
Like knowing that we as individuals, we don't have all of the answers.
We
right?
do.
It's okay to establish partnerships,
Yes.
build partnerships, social connections, and
Yes.
rely on the brilliance of others, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing at Dreams Arts, is that we have a youth and adult partnership.
Yeah.
When we're going through content, we're having conversation, right? And they would teach me stuff. I'd be like, see, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
And I'm having humility because I'm not going up there and just acting like my way of thinking is just the right way of thinking, or I'm just the most educated, right?
Right.
This is a partnership, and I'm collectively picking on all of their brains, right? So that
Come
we can do this together.
Do this together. Partnership. So you say when you see partnership, that there again means we're equal. Where no one's bigger than the other or whatever.
Yeah.
There's none of that. The ego's got to go out the
Oh.
room.
Yeah.
There's no ego. For what we have to do in society, it's no time for egos.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that's important. I don't know how the pyramids were built, but I know they weren't built by one person. So I think I don't know how they were built, but I know they weren't built by one person.
He dropping dollars over here.
And I think for us to build pyramids in our communities, we gotta work together. And I think one of the things Rose mentioning with youth working together, I was led an activity just at our last meeting.
Yeah.
And it's those kinds of things. It doesn't have to be so strict. It doesn't have to be you're the boss and I have to listen and we can't work together. And so I think building these communities is important, and being able to learn that way. You learn by doing.
Yeah.
And we get to do that at Dreams Arts. And one of the things that's interesting is that, so I'm thankful that I'm part of a couple different programs.
Yes. Say them all. You give shout out to all of them, child. Please.
Favorite mentors too.
Yeah. Everybody. Thank you. You do tell you. I'm gonna let you.
But yeah, it's just they're all over open, and I think that you learn different things from different parts, and you have to take those and bring them to all different areas. And so one of the things I just got to do is apply for colleges, Through college essays, I spoke with a bunch of different college counselors, and I saw a million YouTube videos and all those kinds of things. And everyone was saying, you got to brag about yourself. You got to explain these kinds of things. And the first thing I did was talk about my family.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that is because I couldn't get nowhere without them. I couldn't get nowhere without my community, without my history, without my lineage.
Yes.
Because that's just how I came to be.
That's
and
right.
so I think the learning that is something that isn't taught in schools. I mean, maybe the freedom school, but
yeah. And the freedom school.
But in most schools, we're not learning about the importance of family. We're not learning about the importance of our community and building these connections with everybody. And so I think, one more thing. When we were going on the plane and on the plane back, we were looking, and you see all these tiny, tiny little buildings, right? These tiny little lights and all these kinds of things. And you realize that little building is a whole apartment. It's a whole house. It's a whole community, and every person in there has a life. An entire life as complex as yours, you know nothing about it. And I think that's so beautiful and so kind of crazy that we may not even know our neighbors. We don't know the people we've lived next to our whole lives. And I think there's so much wisdom out there. There's so much things we can tap into. And that's what we need to do.
Oh my God.
And this is exactly why we need young people to be on these platforms, right?
Oh my God. You shared about knowing our neighbors. Long time ago, what our ancestors in our community, they knew their neighbors, and you couldn't do nothing down the street because by the time you got home, everybody knew what you were doing. These days, you can't even say hello to your neighbor. They're looking at you like you're crazy. They think I'm crazy because I speak to everybody. You know, how you doing? Good morning. They be like, why the lady always speaks? But it's because that's how I was brought up. And that's, to me, that's community. You know, we have to speak to communicate to one another. And it's like you said something earlier about, it was about communication. How we need to, oh my God.
We know how to support each other better when we develop these understandings of our communities, communicating with each other better.
Yeah.
Based on our knowledge of that community.
Yes. And what a person has been through. And even though your story is not my story, again, I'm gonna come back to it. It counts.
Yeah. We have a unique opportunity.
Come on.
We have a unique opportunity today because we were just divided by a social distancing, by lockdown. We didn't have nobody. We didn't get to speak to our neighbors. We didn't get to speak to our community. And now that we're back, and we have a bunch of different resources. You can go online and you can meet 1 million different people in one day. And they can be from all across the world just like that. And these kind of connections, we don't tap into them the way we need to.
Yeah.
And I think you build them in person, you build them in these connections, but when you can't, whether it's because it's a literal physical boundary, like I can't go to Brazil every day.
Right.
Or if it's just a more difficult one, you may not know about it yet. These things can be unlocked, and we need to do those. We need to tap into the resources we already got.
Boy, just when you said unlock, that's in my brain was unlock your dreams.
Yes.
You know, unlock who you are. And I don't know if I said it earlier when I was saying Samantha was always sharing. She said to me, Ms. B, you give people the opportunity to be themselves. You know, to be who you are. And I tell people all the time, everybody's unique, special, and different. God didn't make all the flowers the same way. He didn't make, it's nothing in this world the same. Other than the people, you know, not say people, but other than if it's a bunch of roses, it's a bunch of roses. If it's a bunch of whatever other kind of flowers, glass, lace, or whatever. But everything is beautiful.
Beauty and the differences.
Come on, say that again.
Yeah.
Beauty
and the differences. And I think I in one of my classes, one of my science classes, I learned that genetically we're about 99% the same.
Yes.
Our genes are almost exactly the same. That's how you make a human.
Yes.
But we're also 99% the same as animals, and 99% the same as different organisms. And so, although we're the same, we're beautifully different, and there's beauty in acknowledging and connecting those differences. And I think one of the things we're trying to do with our upcoming show is is connect those while showcasing how different these places are. And we're gonna do a mural together, connect these different communities that we see in Oakland and that are reflected in ourselves. And so I think that's something y'all should look out for. Hopefully,
That's what I'm say. Tell me where it's gonna be, where it's gonna be, the whole 9.
Yeah, the location to be determined though.
Okay.
So March 15th for sure. And then if you follow in the Homies Empowerment page,
There we go.
you'll see it at Homies Empowerment on Instagram.
How can people get in contact with you?
DM the Homies Empowerment Instagram or email me at Brandon Rose, BrandonROS46@gmail.com. Or if y'all just want to give us resources.
That's right. That's for sure.
Please keep this work going too. And also, can I touch on your the compass that you created in the art?
Oh my God!
So Santiago created an art piece that's kind of like a compass, but the directions of the compass it's monuments, right? Historical monuments, right?
Whoa.
So he used the compass, and whatever direction it's facing, let's say north, it'll be like a compass that's a historical monument of that region.
Brilliant mind.
Right?
Come on now.
And for each direction, right, he had a historical monument that pointed towards that compass, right? And the reason why I want to bring that up is because when he was talking about like exploring our identities and learning about each other and all that, right? That art piece is super powerful to me because it made me realize that the importance of like finding our way, utilizing the stars, utilizing our ancestral wisdom, and that compass was a reflection of like finding our roots, heading towards our roots, right? Whether it was the pyramids, the temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the pyramids of Mexico, and like all of that. It was like a direction, it was like a path. And I was just super inspired.
Oh, you know I gotta see that.
Yeah.
You know I have to see that. But that's the beauty of the being able to create art. You know, and to me, it's a whole different world. Art is a world in itself. So when sharing with I'll say, I had one of my students. They were in elementary, and I had a art piece for them to do. They was just able to be creative, do whatever they wanted to. And the young lady, first of all, she had a hard time starting, only because she wanted to stay on her phone. And I was saying, and I was sharing with her that, tell me, how do you think that phone was created? I said, it's the imagination. I said, society wants to take your imagination away from you. I said, because that's where you build, that's where you grow, that's where you create. I said, so you have to not allow them to take away your imagination. I said, but they want to keep you locked in here because they getting paid. Now, what can you create to bring for our community and take us to another level in society, like they've done through that? And she was like, okay. And then she put the thing down, and then she started creating something. I was like, whoa. And then she's like, it's messed up. It's not this. It doesn't look right. I said, now listen, in art, there's no right, there's no wrong. I said, what you do is take that piece where you think it doesn't look correct, build something else out of it.
Yeah.
Make something else out of it. She said, well, it won't connect. I said, guarantee you, after you finish, I bet you. And when she did it, she was like, whoa. But I was able to speak, excuse me, to her in a way. That's why brilliant minds, that's why BH brilliant minds, that's why God gave that to me. And I said, do you know how brilliant you are? Do you know how using, again, your imagination can rock this freaking world? That's what we need. Tap into your brilliance, because we all have it. So what society does is bring all this stuff on us that we can't even tap in, celebrating our brilliance. If we bring hope, if we celebrate, then that brings the brilliance out. And that's she being able to do that. And that's why I love y'all. That's why I get what I get, because when I'm with y'all, my brain gets to going boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh, thank you, ancestors, thank you, Lord. Because it gives me that opportunity to be creative. It gives me that opportunity to tap into another world where, like, the pyramids was built. And I still today say to myself, how did I even build or do what I'm doing with the organization? Because at one point I had told this gentleman, I'm gonna let you guys, we got 6 more minutes and let you guys finish. and I have to give kudos to him. His name was Mr. Eddie Dillard. So years ago, when we were in our family, well, this is myself and my sisters had purchased, we started our own business, and it was called Daughters of Wendy's Cheesecake Bakery in Jacqueline Village. And then my parents had Wendy's Cheesecake Bakery in San Francisco. So they've been in business for like over 50, 40 years, right? So Mr. Dillard knew the work that I was doing in the community, like doing my take control of your own destiny tours and workshops and different things like that. And he said, Miss B, you need a nonprofit. I kept pushing back from him. I'm like, brother, it don't matter if I have a nonprofit or not. I'm gonna have to use my resources. It was built off my family resources, the different events and the different tours. So I said, it doesn't matter however it goes. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, every time he comes out of the shop, B, you need a five. And I was like, he said, you need it only because somebody else can probably share and give you money, and then they will be able to get a tax write-off on it. And I was like, okay. So then I'm in a meeting, and Kathy Jackson Gent, she has Global Investment Company. So that was my partner in creating the Women's Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
So that was the sister to what she had created. So at one point there was an agency, we went through the Civil Rights Lawyers Association in San Francisco to create our 501c6.
Yeah.
And while they were there, I made that connection. And then later on, I tucked it, and God said, you need to reach out to them. And then when I reached out to them, they were the ones that gave us, did the part with creating the 501c3
for building that connection.
And I was like, whoa, but today I'm still in awe, because it was just something that I know I had to do.
Yeah.
No matter how the resources came or whatever it was going to be, I had to freaking do it.
Yeah.
And just to be able to dream, to see that was absolutely amazing. But go ahead.
Yeah, on that note of dreaming though, I also have a question for Santiago. Is like, as a young person, you pursuing your dreams, your ambitions, and your passion, and applying to college now. What is the legacy you want to leave, whether it's for your family or whether it's for the second generation? What is that legacy?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I think it's something that I think is going to take me years to answer. But for now, one of the things that you mentioned is creativity and sort of keep going after you think you failed.
Yes.
And the painting that Rose mentioned, it was supposed to be something else.
Right.
So I had a vision for it. I didn't like it, and I painted over it. And that's why it has a sunset in the background, purely because of that. And it ended up becoming that the sunset reminded me of the sky. That reminded me of the constellation. That lets the compass. That lets all these kinds of things. There was a pathway there, and I couldn't see it. There's no way I could have seen it when we were first coming up with it through the prompt. But it works its way out. And I think one of the things that my mom would tell me about, and I think she struggles with herself, is who you consider an artist, who considers themselves an artist, who considers their art good. And I think for the longest time I never said I was an artist. And maybe I don't sometimes still. And my mom doesn't either. But she was literally an architect and literally designed buildings that literally exist now. And I think that's the type of art that we don't recognize in ourselves because we're trained not to. But we have this creativity, and Dreams Arts helps unlock it. The community helps unlock it, whether it's through murals, whether it's through writing, whether it's through spoken word, whether it's through radio, whether it's through TV, through acting, any of those kinds of things. And I think all of these things are pieces of our legacy. And whether it's going to be a mural that's in Oakland, whether it's going to be a book, whether it's going to be anything, I think we're developing the skills to eventually leave that legacy. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to learn first. And so I think coming out of that piece, all I wanted to do was honor some of the legacies I had seen. I think we don't see pyramids in Oakland, but we have our own important monuments. And I think that's what Dreams Arts honors. That's what we try to honor at Homies. And those pieces. So the one for the West was in Mexico. It was Chichen Itza. It was an very important pyramid. For the North, it was it was the Taj Mahal in India, even though it's not exactly north, but it was north from where I was doing it. For the south, it was the Sphinx in Egypt, and for the east, it was Angkor Wat in Cambodia. And I think being able to learn about the history of those places,
Yes.
and then trying to replicate them, and then honor it by putting their names in the language from that area, is something that was a journey, both physically when you're thinking about it, because it's all across the world, but also it was a learning journey from the languages that you mentioned and the importance of those. That's why I wrote it in their languages, and from learning about like why is it important that there's all these monuments across the world, but we don't really learn about them in our schools? Why is it important that we can recognize that maybe graffiti is urban hieroglyphs? Maybe
that's it right there.
Yeah, maybe we have all languages. And so I think we have these tools. We just gotta tap into.
Oh my, go.
I close out. This really just a close out in regards to everything Oline mentioned. Like, we're always taught to reach for the stars as if it's not within us. Right?
Yes.
All along, like that star exists inside of us.
You
right? So when I think about his art piece and the constellations and all of that was just a reflection of his spirit, and he just produced it in physical form. So I'm just super grateful to have him in my program, but also for the community to have him, because I think just the transformative change he's gonna make is gonna be powerful.
Before we close out, I just have to say that as I mentioned, I really care about the universe and I'm interested in it. One of the things I learned is that we're made of the same thing that stars are made of. The entire universe, we're all made of the same stuff. We're all made of matter, but we literally came out of the same things, and so we are literally stars. And so we don't know that, and there's a reason that we don't know that, but unlocking that knowledge, both through action and through learning, are really important. So
our ancestors navigate using the stars.
Yep.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh, okay. I'm over here going crazy because again, it was back to the communication. And when I heard you, when you was describing, it was like that was the form of communication. So you were, to me, in alignment to the ancestors saying, this is another new form of communication, which we already done, but I need you to bring it to the people. And when we study it, it's going to unlock another level of communication. See, this one, another level of communication. And it's crazy to be in like-minded around people that think like when I'm thinking a certain thing, like you said, I know other people may not accept it because I'm on another whole nother level to what I'm thinking. And sometimes it's like you want to hold it back and not say it because they won't accept it. And like you said, sometimes it's for you to be with the right people for it to be done at the right time. So oh my Lord, I want a high. This is my high. To be able to do this communication, because that's the key. How do we tap into communication? And it's on a whole different frequency. So that's what our job and our responsibility is. It's what I believe our ancestors are saying. We need to now have a whole different frequency that we having people tap into, and we the ones to be able to create it.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're here. We were born for such a time as this, like our ancestors was born for such a time as when they were doing what they do. We now, this is our
carrying that on. Yeah.
We carrying it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Thank y'all, oh my God, community, for tapping in and being a part of the Eyes of the Conscious Soul. This is Town Biddness.
Town Biddness
With Mr. Rosenity.
Rosenity Rose from DP Stuff.
Hey, and that's my co-host and our guest,
Santiago.
Hey, and we have highlighted so many celebrations and good things that we're doing in our community and that we can create in the world and with our community. I'm so excited about what Homies Empowerment's Dream Arts Activism is getting ready to do in BH Bring Your Minds Project Inc. Y'all look out for the things that we are getting ready to create, because this is on a whole new frequency and we've been charged with it. And I'm so excited and grateful. This theme for today was being a boss in your own right. And we are bosses in our own rights. And we definitely want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Barbara Howard Consulting. Education is the best medicine, Mr. George Pearson. And we definitely want to thank our other sponsors that tap in and to help us in different areas is Homies Empowerment, Homies Empowerment, Jesus, Homies Empowerment Foundation, Homies Empowerment, us, our Homies Empowerment, tap into our community leaders. Dr. Cesar Cruz, Sister Jazzy Cruz, tap into the work that we all are doing in our community and the Freedom School. If you're looking for your students and young folks to be able to think out the box and be able to tap into their genius, connect with the Freedom School. Freedom School, and our kudos to our teachers. Oh my God, we have Rose, we have Tracy, we have Renee, we have Coach G, we have Jeremy, we have Karen, we have who am I? Safisha, we have Brother Ricky, we have Guru J, we have, oh my God,
Shout out to Chef Frankie, Mama Liz,
Chef Frank, Mama Liz. Anybody? Make sure I yes, Leela. I ain't missing nobody.
Miss Ruby.
Yes, Miss Ruby.
The whole school.
Malia.
The whole
Malia.
school.
Yes, the whole squad. We are doing great things in our community, and please tap into the work that we're doing. And we need resources for all the organizations. For BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. Go on our website, bhbrilliantminds.org, bhbrilliantminds.org. Also, Homies Empowerment. Please tap into the work that we're doing in our community because we are making a difference. We want to thank again HHREC Talia Bennett for, oh my God, for all of the connections and the resources that she brings to us from BH Brilliant Minds. We're honored and thankful to us. We definitely want to, if you're feeling any type of needs regarding to mental illness and mental wellness, please tap into NAMI Contra Costa. We have support groups. We have folks that you can get connected to, the African American Uplift Program there. We have a lot of folks that you can tap into, and the work is non-clinical. That we, the workshops that we do, you have the faith focused grief group. You have the Living with Purpose. You have the African American support group. You have Men of Wellness support group. You have family and friend support and incarceration. And excuse me, you have the Young Women's support group and the Young Men's support group. So please tap into NAMI Contra Costa. We're bringing your mental wellness. We're helping and supporting you in that area. But again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. And again, want to thank our guests. And oh my God, the brilliance that's up in this freaking room is just blowing my mind. And I'm grateful and thankful for them taking out time for their busy schedules because these are young folks. They did not have to do this show tonight, but they did. And I'm grateful and thankful. Any last words?
Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. And then most importantly, thank our young person for coming through and sharing his insight.
Well, thank y'all for the invitation. I think this
is not your first and your last. You gonna be
oh yeah.
He might be our co-host.
One day.
He be the co-host too.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, again, you have tapped into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul comes to you live every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Please check us out. We love you. Stay safe and good night.